Note, the Austin, Texas AmeriCorps alumni logo you'll see in this episode is the one that was in use when we recorded. Since then, the AmeriCorps agency released new branding requirements, so the logo will be updated. Same amazing community, just a fresh new look.
And I remember telling myself during my service term, and I said, this was the final pillar that is holding up my foundation. Because I've always thought for myself that there's sort of three things that embody who I am and embody, again, the work that I do and sort of how I move forward. And one of them is education. It's got to have some kind of educational component. The second pillar, it has to have some kind of community outreach, community engagement, community advocacy, activism component. So community is the second one. And then I couldn't really nail down the third one. And so the third one would sort of go back and forth, and I would think of things like, oh, well, it has to have some creative aspect, which is true because I do art here in the city and have been in galleries. But then there's also the aspect of, I think of some other type of globalism or other kind of insight. Nothing really fit. And then I did this program and I learned about health equity. So the health side of it. And I went, that's the third part. I did a passport program that was K through 12, all the grade levels. But the biggest component was it involved the families. And that was important to me. And so it culminated in this large sort of global, it was called a Global Fest. And over the course of the school year, monthly, we would feature, highlight different cultural expressions, cultural experiences across the globe, including Antarctica. AmeriCorps gives you that opportunity for adaptability, for curiosity, and seeing how you can be a part of a larger solution.
Welcome back to another AmeriCorps Connections podcast. I am so excited to have with us today Tisha with a Texas-sized cup of tea, Tisha Vonique with us from Texas. And I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki, for this wonderful invitation. It's so exciting to be here and to really talk to and share my AmeriCorps story because I'm a very, very gratified and proud AmeriCorps alum. And so I love the question of who you are because I think that's so much embodiment of in terms of direction of what you do. So I like to identify myself as a catalyzer of curiosity. And that lines into the work that I do. So I definitely I'm a strategist. I am a coach, but mostly I am a community organizer and a community advocate. So I have different independent programs that I do here in Central Texas. Some of them are focused in different arenas that from youth all the way to our elders. But one of the ones that I'm most proud of is really catered and directed towards our social service practitioners and helping and uplifting that community as a member myself. And of course, many of our AmeriCorps alums may be listening today. So I'm able to channel that because of who I am and the values that drive the work that I do. And a lot of it is rooted from a space of thoughtfulness, of kindness. And a lot of that, of course, evokes empathy. And how does empathy come into play? But at the end of the day, when we look at the AmeriCorps service, I was in corporate. I left corporate to take on this role. I feel it's a community role that is my identity and who I am as a person. So my first time was in North Texas. So it was the North Texas Corps. And I oversaw an after-school program. So I was working from K to 12, as well as the families of a specific area in Dallas. And then I followed up and did a second term here in Austin. And that was the partnership between AmeriCorps and the CDC at the time to empower, educate, train community health workers. And I am certified community health worker through Texas Health and Human Services here. And so again, a lot of that is foundational to the work that I do here in the city and of course, who I am as a person.
Well, yep. I wanted to unmute, but then I wanted to also do this. Okay. Amazing. And love the catalyst of curiosity. I feel curiosity is starting to just kind of percolate.
Yes.
So I love that for catalyst for curiosity. I feel like it's a safe space for people to explore and not have to like tether themselves to titles or, titles or identity. It's fluid. It's like, like I want to explore this and then I want to explore this. And so I love that catalyst for may or may not be your thumbnail title. We'll see. We'll see.
I love it. I love it.
So one thing I wanted to circle back with, when you did the North Texas Core K through 12, and you may or may not, were you state and national? Were you Vista?
Great question. Yes, I was a state national, and I've been state national for both. And I had a small experience when I was in Massachusetts.
As you listen to today's episode, keep in mind if something moves you, activates you, or just reminds you why service matters. There is an incredible place to turn that feeling into action, and it's called Idealist. Social impact jobs, volunteer opportunity, ways to give back right in your community. The link will be in the show notes, and we'll remind you again later.
But I stayed engaged through the board there in Boston when I was living in Massachusetts, but I did not get to fulfill it. So I had to depart early. And ironically, similar thing here for the CDC, for my community CHW program. I had to, I fulfilled my hours. So let's make sure that's clear. I fulfilled my hours, but departed early because I was chosen as one of the global ambassadors for the 2024 Paris Olympics. So I had to leave to go to France and be able to ambassador.
Oh, she twist my arm. Okay, we're going to get to that. Just a second. One of the things I want to highlight is that relationship between AmeriCorps and the CDC, which was really great. I think. I don't know. I actually don't know what the full outcome was. And I was part of a state service commission in South Carolina when that partnership came together. And there were a few programs within our portfolio that took advantage of that. And I also, when I left Maryland, that was just kind of ushering in. And so we were identifying different grants that, okay, we're getting into the weeds, folks. Like we're totally talking AmeriCorps speak right now. Anyways.
But it's necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary. And can you talk a little bit about that? And it was a response from COVID, but I think it was where AmeriCorps, which is so cool because AmeriCorps has done this over its history, the more and more that I'm learning about it. AmeriCorps meets America where it's at.
Right.
So when AmeriCorps started, we needed, well, I take that back. Like we had the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, and then we had all the other Vista, Peace Corps, Peace
and that
Corps,
goes
Vista,
way back.
That goes way back. And all of those kind of met America where America was at. And I feel like the CDC relationship was meeting America where America was at after COVID. Do you feel comfortable speaking to a little bit about like that background?
Yeah, sure. So, we can even take it as far back as the Shrivers. And the Shrivers have really contributed a lot to the human-centeredness of our country because Peace Corps was started from a Shriver. And of course, Special Olympics was started from a Shriver. And when I say Shriver, I mean the Shriver family. We all know Maria Shriver, who was married to the former governor, and of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And wasn't she also a Kennedy? Didn't she come from?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They're all.
Let's make sure we go all the way back.
Go all the way back because that's the origin of Peace Corps and legal aid. All of these programs that were meant to help support, like you said, meeting America where it was at. Because at the time there was the war on poverty that there wasn't really a true study. If we look across the U.S. of the experiences of the communities of the poor, and that was affecting everyone across the board, not specific demographic groups. but you're looking at many different types of individuals. And so that was sort of a call and answer, just like AmeriCorps was a call and answer when that was created back in 1993. And then you have, of course, the CDC partnership with AmeriCorps was a call to answer, as you described, out of COVID, and also a need for non-clinical support. So this is, the community health worker, essentially, we are the non-clinical, because we're not nurses, we're not nurse practitioners, but we are a part of that navigation process. We are a part of the clinical process, the health support, health care support, wellness support. So all of that come together is what a community health worker embodies and provides to communities. And so this particular program was, I think when I started this was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I believe that it has since dissolved, that partnership no longer exists, but they were able to activate hundreds of thousands of community members, community health workers, or at least in the essence, because there's 2 ways you can be a community health worker, at least for Texas. You can do that through designated programs like the one that I went through, but you can also be designated as a community health worker through volunteering hours. And so there's different ways to still be active, because if you look at it, you think of FEMA, whenever they have their volunteers for emergency response. When there's a wildfire, there's volunteers for emergency response. It's that sense of activism and those types of volunteers. In essence, we all fall into and fall under the same umbrella of community health equity, and we're working towards a solution that is equitable in nature.
That's beautiful. I feel like that painted a really great picture. And thank you for bringing us in the history. I get my history all like discombobulated sometimes too. I love that you brought it all the way back to the Shrivers. Like I forget about that. And yeah, so I'm going to not fractal or go down any rabbit holes. I
love it. We're mind matching.
Exactly. Our mirror neurons are lining up.
Yes.
So when you did, do you want to talk a little bit about your service with North Texas Corps, what you did with K through 12, just to get people a little, I don't know, what was something that you remembered and kind of changed you, and then also with the CDC in Austin. And really, a Texas girl going out to Massachusetts, no wonder it didn't stick. I mean, come on.
I mean, great experiences along the lines in all those places. And in that very short stint in Massachusetts also was an out of school time program. So I'll start with the North Texas Corps, obviously.
Yeah, let's do that.
And so the K through 12 was an out of school time. The students would come from their schools, and then it was a community center that was built from within the community. And we had wonderful benefactors from a faith community on the other side of town that really helped to fund a lot of this. So it became sort of a public-private, but it was mainly a private nonprofit that existed. And why I say public-private, because at one particular part, we ended up having a police substation connected to this entire area to, again, bring in the component or the idea of whole communities, because there was also housing that was built in this particular area. And that was also a component of this center of the community that existed. So I oversaw the after school, of course, with the staff there, because as AmeriCorps, you were the support system for existing programs. And the highlights for me, I would say there's 2. So I did a passport program that was K through 12, all the grade levels. But the biggest component was it involved the families, and that was important to me. And so it culminated in this large sort of it was called a Global Fest. And over the course of the school year, monthly, we would highlight different cultural expressions, cultural experiences across the globe, including Antarctica. So we would talk about some of the scientific research that was happening on Antarctica. We talked about penguins. Yes, we did. We absolutely talked about penguins. We watched Happy Feet as a part of it. It's something fun
One of
to
my
think about.
favorite movies.
Oh, of course, that dance scene. I mean, you can't not love that dance scene. That was a strong component of it. And so what I was hoping again was to help the youth and their families open their eyes to different experiences, especially experiences different from themselves. And one of the universal ways to do that is through food. So the Global Fest culminated with different tastes of food around the world. And because this particular community was made up of different families from across the world as well, it was mostly individuals from the Global South, Latin America specifically, some from the Caribbean. We had some from Africa, some from Eastern Europe, Europe as well. And so invited them to bring dishes that are representative of their heritage and their culture. And we had a wonderful fest, and everyone got to try different things. We had popsicles for Antarctica. That was a lot of fun.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If this conversation is activating something in you, don't just let that feeling sit there. Go check out Idealist. They've connected over 40 million people with opportunities to serve, give back, and do good. Whatever that looks like for you, go explore, and the link will be in the show notes. And now back to that. So
I was able to get small businesses, local businesses to donate and to be a part of this so people could also taste and experience, and to show we have community stewards outside of just the resources we would offer from this particular center. And so that was one of my highlights. And families, a lot of them trying to communicate with one another through different languages. They're doing it through hand gestures, body gestures, lots of hugs, dancing. It was just a really, really great time. So that's one of my favorite highlights from the North Texas Corps. And then my other highlight was
wait, before you roll into the next highlight, don't you want to replicate that now?
Oh, so much.
So bad.
So it's so funny you say that, because there are many times, even when I'm still volunteering outside of, the work that I'm doing, and one of the monikers that someone so graciously provided for me here, whether it was from a gracious place or, this is all I see. She called me a professional volunteer, which is very true. Very, very true. And so, I try to have different types of expressions, whether it's through music or it's through talking about entertainment. So that's these universal experiences that everybody enjoy. But, there's different expressions from different places that people, when they come to the table. So definitely try to do it. You're right.
Yeah, there's a person that I don't follow. I think I need to follow him. So he travels across the world. He's on Instagram, and he learns the local dance. And have you seen him?
I have seen him. And then there was a lady, and now her name's escaping me, but she had a show on PBS that was a long time ago. So I don't know if he also got inspiration from her, but she had a show on PBS similar to St. Brown, that go around the different great hotels, things like that, when they travel. Yeah.
Okay.
And she would travel and do that.
But I
Very
interrupted
cool.
you. You were going into your, so you did that, and I love
that was my service.
really, yeah. So go into, you said you had one other standout moment in the K-12 experience.
Yeah. So I would say that the other one sort of on the flip side, because out of that AmeriCorps experience, it then parlayed into being on the organizing of the actual sites. So I then became the development coach across the sites there in North Texas. So I moved out of that AmeriCorps term into then being able to oversee and help develop AmeriCorps across Dallas. And essentially, one of the things that I really took as a marker of impact was partnering with PepsiCo, which was a continuation from my AmeriCorps service term, because we were able to test new types of foods be through that through that relationship building, test new foods that they then would utilize for uh, schools and cafeteria systems across North Texas. So we got to be test markets, like the students of this program. So continue that relationship into the work that I did after AmeriCorps. So still AmeriCorps linked, but not necessarily an active service member. And we had a wonderful program where we would go and offer during the summertime food as well as activities. So across the US through the USDA, they offer these summer feeding programs. So we would do summer feeding programs in collaboration with PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, and was able to feed over 250,000 was the last stats that we were able to gather during that particular season. So it's a wonderful, wonderful experience that I had during the North Texas Corps. And, it still inspires, again, a lot of the work that I've contributed to today.
So, everybody, thank you so much for joining the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. And if you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe. It really makes a difference in the podcast algorithms. So if you like this content and you want it to continue, I just need you to hit subscribe and share it. It sounds like you had a lot of opportunities to, so I like to think about the caterpillar going into the chrysalis and then coming out and flapping its wings and like trying things out, right? Like, well, I know how to get to that tree. I got to the tree. This tree is cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like you had a lot of opportunities to go from tree to tree, flower to flower, to try new things, have new experiences, and to kind of try new like impacts, I guess.
Yes.
It was a way of saying it. And
I love that.
and I think that that's important for people to consider if they're thinking about an AmeriCorps service, is that you're going to have an opportunity to try new things. So make sure you're doing that during your service year, because really it's really when you're testing your wings. The nest is still there, so you can always come back. But like fly and see, test it out and see what you can find.
I love that you said that, because it's also true of the programs that I was blessed to be a part of with North Texas Corps. And it was a wonderful experience. And I'm so grateful for that experience and for those individuals, those staff members and those programs that were part of it. Because you're right, they gave the ability to try, and not to say that, it wasn't always offered and things weren't always accepted, because I'm very self-empowered in that way to ask, and self-empowered to present ideas and to implement those ideas through fruition. So it's I love that you bring that up, because a lot of the times, at least I remember when we were going through, and especially the recruiting process, and letting folks know over summertime, whenever we were getting recent college students that, need something to do. I won't say need, but are looking for something to do over a short-term period before returning to school. We would inform them this is an opportunity not only to be a beacon in the community, but if you are looking at some adjacent type of considerations for what you're studying, this is a wonderful place to do it. AmeriCorps gives you that opportunity for adaptability, for curiosity, and seeing how you can be a part of a larger solution.
I think that's beautiful. And that's such a great soundbite about the curiosity and being part of the bigger solution. And I will also add there, even if you don't have the autonomy and the ability to try things out with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? That's important during a service year too, because you have a service term. It's not an entry-level job where you're like, oh my God, I hope I get promoted. You're going to be here for 11 months and it's sink or swim. And you definitely could sink, right? That's easy to do. But even if you don't know how to swim and you've got bricks on your ankles, there's still a way to figure out how to, doggy paddle or whatever. So try new things. Like you said, I love all of that.
And I love your visual of bricks on your ankle while you're doing the breaststroke.
Making it work. My Jersey roots. I don't know what's in the Hudson River. That's funny.
Oh, that's so
Fun. We just digress on this podcast. We digress. All right. So it sounds like you had a little bit of a space in between your North Texas Corps and into the CDC, because CDC was in 2022, right?
Right. It was 2022, 2023. And so one of the programs that I worked for in Austin, obviously Central Texas, AmeriCorps Central Texas has multiple programs and multiple sites. And so one of them was the CDC designated group. And that one was just a wonderful opportunity to sort of connect the work that I've been doing before into the lens of health equity. Because honestly, I hadn't really considered that before this AmeriCorps term. And
That's
that is
so
why
cool.
it is wonderful. Again, why AmeriCorps is so wonderful in that space. And I remember telling myself during my service term, and I said, this was the final pillar that is holding up my foundation. Because I've always thought for myself that there's sort of three things that that embody who I am and embody, again, the work that I do and sort of how I move forward. And one of them is education. It's got to have some kind of educational component. The second pillar, it has to have some kind of community outreach, community engagement, community advocacy, activism component. So community is the second one. And then I couldn't really nail down the third one. And so the third one would sort of go back and forth, and I would think of things like, oh, well, it has to have some creative aspect, which is true because I do art here in the city and have been in galleries. But then there's also the aspect of I think of some other type of globalism or other kind of insight. Nothing really fit. And then I did this program and I learned about health equity. So the health side of it. And I went, that's the third part. So part of me feels like, oh, complete in a way, but not to make it sound that way, but it's true. So when I think of it, the three things that truly embody my character and embody my inner drive are education, community, and health equity. I could just say equity on its own because equity involves justice and it involves democracy and it involves legislation, all these different things. But there is that health component because it's the mental and behavioral health combined that I think creates such a foundational essence of humanity. And having that be the core of what we do and the core of a healthy, functional society.
And if you don't have your health, you have nothing else. You really can't. What is it? You can't pour from an empty cup. And
hello. And that's so funny you say that because
hello, Tisha with a Texas side
TT. A big yeah. And I, try to fill it all the time.
Yeah.
Then it's ironic you say that about filling your cup and being from a space of overflow, because that links to one of the programs that I was describing as social service practitioners. Literally what it's about. It's about self-care is healthcare. And come together and I provide these opportunities for, again, social service workers to connect with one another, maybe discuss things related to work, not work, but it's being in a space where, oh, you get it. Yeah, you get it. We understand how we are moving forward through this work, through, the struggle people. And it's just being a place that you can take a breath and have some fun and have something yummy to eat. And that's literally a part of the work. So I love that you said that because so many of the times we think we have to sacrifice ourselves, and we are not going to be able to continue to progress if we are in a way sort of punishing ourselves from that progress.
Yeah, I think it's also a callback to what you had said about community and like-minded people, right? So folks that are in the industry of healthcare, um, there's burnout, right?
Absolutely. And one of my favorite quotes that I love to use is one by Audre Lorde, of course, who is a big advocate, civil rights advocate. And she says, self-care is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. And for us to be able to do this work, to preserve this work, sustain this work, maintain this work, requires that sense of self-care. It's not just, the whole, we think of luxury wellness and all these different things of self-care. No, self-care is also self-awareness. And it's recognizing the difference when we've gone from being in a space of saviorship. There's a lot of time where we might want to save things. And it's being aware that this is not, or I am not in a space to have the capacity to save this, or I need to share this particular need with others so we can uphold it or move it forward together. And I think a lot of that harkens into the get things done. That's the our sort of reminder with AmeriCorps. And it's very, very true that getting things done also requires and also includes getting things done for yourself too. So you have to take that into consideration.
I was just delivering a workshop earlier today in my 9 to 5 about I can't remember. I did 2 different sessions. One was like when you're starting your service year, when you're kind of green. Oh yeah, it was that one. I have a whole protocol. It's called Notice. It's coming out, guys. It's very exciting. But one of them is C in the word notice, and it's clarity. And then when I delivered it, I said, so I'm not going to say that this is self-care, but it really is. If you're walking into a situation and you don't have clarity, you're not quite sure how to get this right, then you're going to continue to get it wrong. And what I've found is if you ask for help, then you're empowering others to give their knowledge and their experiences to you without coming to them and be like, what are you talking about? Which is what I would do.
Right.
But to your point of self-care and clarity and having that, what are we working towards? How can I show up and do this right for all of us?
Right. And that piece of what you just described of the who and the how, it's like going back to our, humanities. When we were younger, the who, what, where, when, why, good thing. But if we come from that place, then that affords us that ability to be clear so that we are not wasting efforts that are unnecessary. We're not wasting energy that doesn't require our energy. And that clarity really streamlines so many things. And, not if doing this work, but also I'm also a Six Sigma. I'm a Lean Six Sigma. So for me, seeing the word through efficiencies. So Sigma is essentially, we're system thinkers. So we look at the overall system and we tend to identify opportunities. Now, depending on who you're speaking to, because not everybody is welcoming of Lean Six Sigma and Six Sigma thinking, because it requires adaptability and accountability from systems that have existed in status quo. So there is that being able to identify opportunities to make things more efficient, and like you said, have that greater sense of clarity so that everybody knows where to go, what to do at what time and when, and it really provides greater programmatic planning and just over organizational planning. But to go back again to what you were saying about the clarity, I think in this work, we need to be clear of why we're in it. What is our driving force for it? And then sort of where do we want things to go? So in telling the story before, being able to have a safe space to express ideas like I did with North Texas Corps, provided the clarity for me to have and be a part of such successful programming.
So you kind of breezed over the 666 Sigma. And the only reason I picked up on it is because I think it's a project management.
Yes, it is.
That's the
It's a
only
sort of-
reason I know is because my partner is a project management specialist, and I'm doing the Six Sigma green belt. I'm doing
Oh.
the Six Sigma.
Why, welcome.
What does this even mean?
Mhm.
So
It's like karate, different colors and different things.
y'all need to meet. So I think this is important because you kind of breezed past it, but I want to just take a minute here, if we could just sidebar, to talk a little bit about that program, project management, and your systems thinking and what that means when you go through a service year. And I mean, we can just open this up to any employment, and your X leads to Y leads to Z, and then why does Z go back to K? Where's K? What is before K? Right.
Mhm.
And I feel like some of these I don't know what it's called. Six Sigma. I don't know.
Six Sigma.
You'll tell us.
Just
We'll
one
make
six.
it right in the show notes. I promise. Six Sigma. So let's just take, a small, brief sort of commercial break and talk about what that is. Do you feel comfortable in talking about that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never want to put somebody on the spot and be like, so you're the professional in this room.
Well, that is definitely
you
not
know.
a professor. Exactly. I'll tell you what I know. I like
Okay, perfect.
It's much better, much better. Yeah. So I was able, there's many different programs. There's actually a Six Sigma Alliance, if I'm not mistaken, that you can go online and you can do their programs. It's not cheap. And some of them, unfortunately, may not be accepting of the Ed Award, but you can go through universities and colleges that would have these particular programs as a part of their curriculum that then would accept the Ed Award. So there's many different areas. So, that's one specialization. And I would say being able to use your Ed Award through for specialization is key, especially to rack up or stack up as many certifications, specialized learning that you can find, because that is another area that is having a lot of momentum right now is micro credentialing. So that includes going through things like Google, Coursera, edX, those different websites. And you can, if the lore of the university type or university brand is something of interest for you, you can get programs through Yale, Harvard, Stanford, Northwestern, and you can get certifications from those particular platforms as a means to have micro credentialing as well that adds and enhances onto your existing AmeriCorps experience. But there are program platforms, I should say. But I took, just for fun, I took a Harvard continuing education course utilizing my Ed Award. And, I realized just for the one course, I could have just gone to some other university things, probably 3 or 4 combined. But for me, it was the overall experience of seeing, well, I'm curious what their classroom experience is like. Again, leaning into the curiosity for it. There wasn't any kind of credentialing that was included with this particular class, but if I continued with the course, absolutely, absolutely. So in a way, it can help to, of course, reduce cost and it can be supplemental. And there are many programs that offer matching. So we don't want to forget about that. If we're going to talk about Ed Awards and how you can utilize it further for things like learning Six Sigma or earning a master's in certain spaces, there are particular programs that will do matching of your existing Ed Award. So in essence, it becomes double value for certain programs.
That was a great commercial ad for you get the Ed Award. And it's so cool too, because now with your Ed Award, I think this is how it's always been, but if the sorry, just my window's open. I was like,
I love it. It was the Beyonce hair for a moment, and I was like, "Go, girl,
let's go." Yeah, so utilizing the Ed Award to get, and I love the micro credentialing, and maybe I need to figure out who the. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a frack.
There's actually really, really great program. I think it's called the Education Lab that does micro credentialing. Well, I wouldn't say they do it, but they are sort of a platform and like a funnel, really a funnel for the different types of community colleges that offer micro-credentialing, the unique programs that offer, and universities that offer micro-credentialing. So it's helping to bridge the idea of people needing to go to a 4-year university when they might be non-traditional adult learners, meaning they may have a family or they may have family obligations that doesn't allow time. And so micro-credentials are really focused on certain skills that are needed now. Just like AmeriCorps helps to fill the gap and bridge what is needed now in communities, micro-credentialing is the same thing that give that specific knowledge skill set.
I love that. One of the things from the framework that I was working on is, like I had mentioned before, curiosity is a thread that runs through that. And what's cool is literally, folks, go on Google, and something that sparked your interest during your service year, is there a micro-credentialing for, rooftop urban gardening? There is.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
hydroponic, I forget what it is, like water gardening.
Yeah.
There is. So if there's something during your service year, and I encourage people during their service year to just engage, go into other projects, get your work done, and make sure you're showing up and you're able to be available to the things that you're doing, but engage in tangential or projects or partnerships and learn what you don't know, because I love this. I don't know if I made this up, but I love this. And tell me if you've heard this before, but you don't know what you don't know until you don't know. And then you don't know. And then you know.
Brava. I love that. That's amazing. That's so great.
Now. And sometimes that can lead you to a credentialing program. So we've totally gone off base.
I love it though.
Tisha, we've gone off base.
You have a sort of a merch opportunity with a t-shirt and a mug with that. You don't know.
I love. You don't know. You don't know. All right, we're gonna circle back with that. I'm trying to. There's a lot of things happening. I'm so excited. There's sponsorships in the pipeline in this podcast. But let me just tell you, folks, if you are on the ground floor of this podcast and you're watching this right now on YouTube, please subscribe, because it's going to actually make a difference. And you're going to want to be on the ground floor of this podcast. Okay. I don't want to lose the through line, though, because you're not an AmeriCorps member anymore. You did 2 service years. You did a little stint there in Massachusetts, but you're doing awesome things now. And not only that, I want to talk about what you're doing professionally, but I also want to talk about what you're doing. What are you, a professional volunteer?
Yes.
You're standing up. If everybody looks at the background, you stood up the AmeriCorps alums, the Central Texas or Austin, Texas chapter. And I recently joined the board of the DC alumni chapter here in wherever I am out on the East Coast. And we're volunteers. We're not getting paid, guys. Like, this is heart, love, AmeriCorps stuff. So Tisha, I want to transition from your service year into what you're up to, and let folks know, are you hireable? Are you a contractable? Can people reach out to you and be, help me fix myself? And then let's go into why starting this alumni chapter was important to you, specifically rooted in civic and community engagement and self-activation. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
Oh, love that. To answer your initial questions, yes, always, absolutely. As an independent contractor, I'm always welcome and inviting of folks that are looking for some direction, and maybe their programs haven't reached a particular goal that they're trying to achieve. So being able to have a new set of eyes, ears, and an objective hopefully can take you to those particular goals that folks might be looking for, because a lot of that is applicable into what I'm doing with AmeriCorps alums here in Austin. And you're right, it was a dormant chapter that had been dormant for a little bit. And what sparked sort of this origin story of how I got involved and reactivating this particular program is I had been around in conversations around town. And of course, again, you're talking about being proud alum. There might be when I was volunteering and I said, yeah, well, I would do this as an AmeriCorps member. Somebody would say, yeah, I did AmeriCorps. And I mean, just would light up. And I said, oh my gosh, so exciting, so amazing. I was like, man, I wonder, have you heard if there's like a chapter, if there's a group here? And a lot of the times, I wouldn't say a lot, every single time, it was no. No, I have no idea. There was no. And I said, interesting. And you know how there are those times where you say, well, someone's got to do it. Sort of like how you have created this amazing podcast, Nikki. You're
Someone's
like,
got to put it
someone's
on
got to do it.
contract.
Right.
3 years later.
Exactly. But that's how it happened. And that's additional when we think of like small business too. Someone has an idea and it's like, well, someone's got to do it. There's an offering. Someone's bound to want this. And so I did research. I started trying to identify who or what existed from the past because there were links to, and there were sort of crumbs and remnants of a former alums chapter, but it was completely dormant. So I started asking around, and then was able to identify somebody from the previous leadership team. And we had a meeting, and it was so funny because it was literally like a transferring of the previous. There was a box of items, not different.
It's like a typical AmeriCorps handoff binder, a transition binder. The
Yes.
bodies are buried here.
Yep. Do with this what you will.
That's
That's
so
pretty
funny.
literally. Oh yeah, isn't it? And it's so great. And it's funny that it's continued in that space. That's a universal experience. So on many levels. And so that's where it started, and ended up with this particular logo that we went through. Well, this is for now. I mean, not saying everything is permanent and it's going to stay this way only, because one of the things in taking over the helm and the reins of the chapter was, I always thought of it in terms of succession planning. So with others, and there's an actual sort of researched version of this, and this is called per mortem planning. So what you do is you plan for the end, and in engineers use this reverse engineer. NASA utilizes this. You're not necessarily thinking of the worst thing that can happen. No, that's not what we're thinking. But for me, I think of what happens next, because I wouldn't want the chapter to go through another stage of being dormant and having people wonder, well, what or why, or in the conversations that I had when first starting it. So why I bring that?
Can we pause there a little bit? Because my brain isn't locking into what you said, post-mortem.
Yeah. It's an
Pre-dead.
actual scientific pre-dead. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's succession. So think of like succession, what happens after.
But you're also saying not necessarily what happens after. It's like what happens in that purgatory, like that in between of like.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Hello. I almost lost my laptop.
It's the pillow.
Pretty much. Yeah, I love that. So in thinking of that in between, now I have the box, and what am I going to do with that box? Of how do we move the chapter forward was identifying how can somebody come back to this particular program? How can someone come back to if I'm not here? So a lot of the times I'll do if I'm not here, because I realize I was the only one, am the only one at this particular juncture. Definitely been soliciting others and bringing in other board members. But if I'm not here, how can this continue moving forward? So there was a lot of planning for centralizing the program because it was tethered to many different things. So this is also parallel for your service year and looking at, like you were saying, those different tangents that you can get credentials from, things like that. And you're looking at it. So you're looking at it overall and you're recognizing, okay, how do all of these connect? How do these all sort of speak to one another and speak to each other? So there's a central focus or a central goal. And so for the chapter, one of the first things I wanted to do was centralize everything. And this is, again, leading from my Six Sigma and that systems thinking, centralizing it, because so many components of it was tangent. It was many different things were tethered to many different people. And those many different individuals were no longer connected or many other places. So that took a lot of sort of the background building from behind the scenes until we got to the place and the space that we are now that allows for tangents because in the tangents we use in terms of social media, our visibility in town, who we might partner with, who we might collaborate with, there is that central understanding of, what is the purpose of this chapter at this particular time. And then the next step is, okay, after this particular purpose, or once we feel it's been satisfied, then what do we do next? So for right now with the chapter, it's one, getting the word out. It's creating a sense of visibility. It's giving the optics that it is active and it is moving. So I put into place different structures of this will always happen every month. We'll always have this type of event every month. We'll always provide this kind of offering every month. So those foundational structures are in place. And the next step then goes into, okay, so now that we have these particular pillars, now that we have these levers pulled, it's a matter of what kind of content, what kind of information do we want to disseminate, or do we want to gather from the members and those who do provide information and have that influence future programming. So, at the sort of end of the day, where we're at now is I'm really just trying to create a visual and an understanding that we're here. This is sort of this first wave. And as more people join in leadership and participate in leadership is where we'll branch out in other spaces. So we have our LinkedIn, and there's a purpose of that LinkedIn is one, letting people know we're here. But what I've done a lot is put out many, many different postings of job opportunities, and it's local job opportunities. So that now there is that sort of automated thinking of, okay, if I go to the Austin AmeriCorps alums LinkedIn page, it's probably going to have different postings of job opportunities. And if I'm in another city and you have curiosity of maybe moving to Austin, maybe this is a lever I can pull to go and look at employment opportunities and the landscape there in Austin, as well as hearing of what the chapter is doing. And then we have, of course, our other social media platforms that might have other information. There's one that's just links. So we use Linktree that has all the different links of where to go find things that didn't exist before. We have our Instagram, which is just an opportunity to spotlight and highlight some of the social gatherings that we're doing around town. So that way everything has a clear purpose, to go back to clarity, has a clear purpose, but there is that centralized understanding of we just want to create the image as well as make sure we're clearing any perceptions that it's an inactive or it's a dormant chapter because it's been reactivated and it's been re-energized. And that's been the biggest focus right now with the alums chapter specifically. And where we'll go from there is a lot of consideration from our current members and, of course, the leadership that joins eventually.
Let's call it right now and say, what do you need? Do you need more folks to step up in leadership?
That would always be helpful. Yeah. So if we
Okay.
have folks that are interested and might have an interest in the Austin space, they are welcome to reach out. We have a page dedicated to those interested in leadership. And the way that we do leadership here is similar to many other sort of spaces where it's communal. So I'm looking at it from a space of what can you contribute versus title driven type of leadership. So because there's going to be a lot of program stretch and creep where you're doing other things. And I don't want to have a space where someone is saying, but I'm secretary, I'm not supposed to be planning the events. And it's like, well, we don't want to get hidden behind title because everybody can do responsibilities typically secretary does. But only you as this particular board member or someone that is really well steeped in doing social media or really well steeped in outreach and recruitment And so that is what we want you to bring to the table, is what is already an instinctive and an organic ability and talent that you have, versus having a specific title and leveraging that title to either create sort of some barriers that might limit how you
Right.
can really be an effective part of the group.
And I want to bridge the gap between what you're looking for with the AmeriCorps alums in Central Texas, Austin area particularly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just want to make, I'm not super familiar with Texas. I know there's Austin,
San Antonio, which is also
and
considered central,
Texas.
and then Dallas, which is north.
Or is it opposite? Is it
Up north is Dallas. Dallas
Dallas?
up north, yep. And then San Antonio. So if you think of Austin is here, San Antonio, I don't know if it's flipping.
Yeah, it's like,
But don't forget,
okay.
Texas is like the size of Europe and
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. No, Texas is a big guy.
monster.
It's a monster.
Yeah, yeah.
Texas though.
Yeah. So that would be helpful.
Between the two of us, I'll put an image of Texas and I'll put him.
Like that.
But I want to
Pass.
I want to circle back, and then as we start to land the plane, we wanted to talk about was engagement and starting things yourself in the place where you're at, and civic engagement. And
Yes.
as you were speaking, I got a little bit, I will say I got a little bit nostalgic, and I thought, God damn, one of the things that I felt when I was sitting in the room with the DC chapter, and we're all volunteers. I was so excited to be there, and I was looking around the room, and everybody was an AmeriCorps alum.
Yeah.
And everybody was there because we were all volunteers. And I'm like, God, we are still getting things done. We're still getting things done. And we're talking about how to engage alumni in service opportunities, because we all understand that service ultimately will heal us. As a human, service actually heals us. Service will bring us together. We were talking about professional development, because we're always growing and learning, and we always have an opportunity to learn in our profession. We're also talking about social events. Like, of course, some of us want to get together and drink beer. We want to hang out. Those are all good things. When we were talking about volunteers, this is where it's at. Like, this is what we do as AmeriCorps members. And I'm just so, I don't think I've ever shared this ever in the podcast. And Tisha, I'm so glad you're bringing this out to me. That, we're really part of something super special. We served our communities, and the fact we want to uplift our alumni groups. That's a commitment. I want you to definitely talk to us about, what do you need? Let's get people in touch with you. Let's activate. Let's get people in the central Austin alumni group. And then also, how are we reaching back into those communities to create these civic, self-activated members of the community? So the floor is yours.
Wow. Well, I mean, what you just said is so much of what we are hoping for, and so much of the core of why I really wanted to do this is because we were part of something, and it's to bring that back. So I love that you said that, being a part of something, and especially our current state of affairs of the loneliness epidemic, and people are disconnected and individualistic. And we have to remember, wait, I was a part of something. And the platform is here to reignite that, to continue being a part of something. So that's really what I'm hoping for this chapter to provide here in Austin, is that people can continue that feeling, can continue that momentum of their own sort of self identity. And to be specific, as described, always looking for additional folks, like I'd mentioned earlier, in leadership roles, but really just showing up, looking for folks to just be a part of these different types of experiences that we're trying to curate here in Austin. And if you want something different, please share. No, it is a safe space to share about that. So we have many different events. We'll do our museum meetups, as I described, during the month. That always happens. We try to have a happy hour social that we're offering. We have seasonal activities. So during the summer, we're doing a tour of Central Texas parkland. So we're going to many different key parks and green spaces here that one takes us out of being indoors and really getting us to engage outdoors, but with each other. We have many different workshops that we will encourage, not necessarily coordinated by us, but that we will encourage for people to be a part of, or larger volunteer events. So there's Good Neighbor Day that's taking place May 16th. That's a part of the entire 250 celebration. We have different citywide cleanups where we will try to engage individuals to be a part of that. So all of these different things are just reminders of us being a part of something, being a part of a movement. And those are opportunities people can find us on the different social media platforms. So, at Austin AmeriCorps alums, at ATX AmeriCorps alums is on LinkedIn. So they're welcome to join our LinkedIn. If you are a member, and you don't have to, one thing I want to make clear is, and I did a recent highlight series during National Volunteer Week, AmeriCorps Appreciation Week, the two of them, where we highlighted current alums or alums here in the city that did not do their service time here in Central Texas. They did it other places, but they now call Austin home. And it's an opportunity that wherever you did a service year, wherever you did AmeriCorps term, and you are here in Austin or Central Texas, even if you're in San Antonio or in between, we have an in-between town, you can be part of both. Why not? Both doing different things. We just want people to know that this is for all different alums, and alums that include being a part of a family. If you have a family, we have some alums that have young families of their own. Then we have alums that have other older generations that have their senior corps individuals. And I'm like, bring all. It's not just for alums of a certain age range or a certain demographic. If you have contributed to your community in any way through the experience of AmeriCorps, we want you to be a part of it here in Austin, and we are welcoming and inviting of it. And we have many polls and surveys where we're also trying to capture individuals' information. If you're listening to this and you maybe don't feel the urge to be a part of the social gathering, but please be a part of the information gathering goals that we have here, so that we can be able to identify that there is a larger community of AmeriCorps members here in Austin. So I'll stop with that.
That was beautiful. And it was such a good advertisement. So we'll make sure that we have that advertisement for you to be able to share all over the place. And that's similar to the DC chapter because there were new members that were coming on to the board. And then, we had our little retreat. And that was a question of, are we engaging only folks that served in DC? No, we are. And we're like DC Metro. So it's a little bit of Maryland, it's a little bit of Virginia, and it's DC. And it's folks that did AmeriCorps service and are in the area. Tisha, this has been so good. I honestly don't think I've had a podcast that had gone literally an hour and a half. It's crazy. And this is going to really mess me up with the editing, but it's okay. I'm super excited about it. Before we leave, I want to make sure that you're sharing the message, not just with the alums outreach, but overall. This is kind of a big ask for you, but we are where we are, right? We can only do what we can do. And from your perspective, and from your experience, and from AmeriCorps, everything that you've done, what is your landing thoughts about what we can do as service members? This is the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. We are focused on alumni. So, but everybody listens to this podcast. Like, had people reach out to me and say, my niece was interested in serving in AmeriCorps, and I just said, listen to this podcast. And recently I've been categorizing playlists. So if somebody wants to listen to all NCCC, they can just click on NCCC playlists. If they want to learn about Vista, they can listen to Vista City Year. As we move out and land plan, like I said, what do you want people to know? What do you want to take home? What do you want to drive home to people? Small question, just a really small question.
Yeah, just a small. I'll frame it with this. In terms of how we might feel of what's happening, we all know what is happening in our current state of affairs. And there could be different feelings, but if there is a feeling of dread, or if there's a feeling of deep concern for where things are going, when you made a conscious choice to do AmeriCorps, you made a conscious choice to say and to feel that things can be better. And so somehow, some way, tap back into that feeling, that charge of getting things done, because your experience as an AmeriCorps member was and is an expression of resistance. It was resisting what existed in that community at that time and saying, I know it can be better. I know that I can be a part of that solution, and I want to be a part of it. That was a conscious decision when we did AmeriCorps. There may be some folks that did it because they may have thought that they didn't have any other options, or options were limited, or maybe they needed funding in a particular crunch. But somewhere down that line, I know there was a light that switched and said, you are a conscious part of a better tomorrow. And so if we can tap back into that, if we can just participate, then I think we have the ability to transform our own experience and where we exist among others, but also transform the overall place that you might find yourself feeling. And it really, really does start with that idea and notion of getting things done. You've made a conscious decision once, you can do it again. And sometimes it's as little as subscribing to podcasts like this.